Okay. How's everybody? How's everybody in this cold morning? Do you know that I just came to know about this today, okay? So I don't, but do you know that the third Monday of January is called Blue Monday? So we are in a Blue Monday. Not because it's blue outside. Guess why blue? Because people, just came out of holidays. Now they have to pay their bills. It's very cold. So very depressing. So blue is not the color, but it's the depressing blue, the sad blue. But let's make this Monday, cold Monday, exciting. With some coding. Let's code today. Let's code, but I'm not talking about the code outside. I have to say codes, writing codes. Okay? So we will all be doing things in a slightly different way today. Before we get to that, who got bonus 2 done? Bonus 2? Bonus 2? Yeah. Yay. Good. Okay, bonus 2 will be useful for our next class. For this class, we're going to be wrapping things up in a way with this chapter by talking about properties, by talking about the keyword this, and by talking about constructors. But we're going to talk about them in a slightly different way. I will not be here showing slide after slide after slide about all of those things. We're going to be hands-on. We're going to be exercising and going through them. And some of the exercise I'll demonstrate. Some of the exercise you're going to have time to try it on your own. So I'm going to be mixing exercises with concepts, but as they are required for the exercise, okay? So we're not going to be talking, and next class we're going to be practice. No, it will be practice, talk, and practice, and talk. But the talk will be very geared towards the exercise. So I may have a PowerPoint to show, but I'll try to avoid that. So we're going to be talking about those aspects in a very coding-oriented way, okay? So, load Centennial, please. And also, keep Padlet open, as I usually say, in case you want to ask any questions, but not identify yourselves, that's fine. So I'll just open up the URL to Padlet. As usual, I have it open here. I'll be monitoring that.
Professor,
yes?
I wanted to ask you to explain the difference between get and set, because in the
We're gonna talk about this right here. So that's properties, okay? So we're gonna talk about this here. So at the point that we're gonna get to an exercise that will involve this, properties, I'll talk about that, okay?
Because in the book I didn't really understand properly. It's a bit
I get it, that's fine. That's all fine. So again, on Centennial, let's go to content. Another content, let's go to week 2. And let's go to programming exercises 01. So on programming exercise 01, what I want to do, let's see. Okay, let's talk about, let's work on exercise 1. But exercise 1, I'll start by demonstrating how to put it together. And I think that we're going to be touching properties right there. Okay, so I'm going to start with exercise 1. Again, have it open easily for you in case you cannot see well enough there. So again, have it open for you. As I get it going, you may want to get it going as well on your side, just by copying, by mimicking what I'm going through, okay? But exercise 1, I will demonstrate. Exercise 2, you're going to be doing 2, 3, and 4, okay? But first one, I'll be demonstrating. First of all, any questions overall, aside from new content? Because if you try to progress on those exercises, some of the things have not been covered yet. So I understand if you have questions about properties, about structures, but aside of those, are there any questions that you'd like me to address up front? Anything? Yes?
How do we reach you outside of class?
Email?
Email.
Yes. Now, if you need to have a one-on-one, email, and then we work it out on some time, okay?
Yes, may I just ask you?
Yes.
Because I saw the code from students of other group, and they were doing there was the class program, and they were, after this class, in the same project, writing another class. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it practical? Not like...
To write this two classes in the same file?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that in context of this, okay? Okay, so those exercises, they have been, if I'm not mistaken, they have been extracted from the book, okay? So let's see the first one here. Create a class named pizza. Okay, before we can create a class named pizza, we have to create a project, okay? So let's create a project here. I have Visual Studio open. Then I'm gonna hit create new project. As usual, I'm gonna go to the console app.net framework. And then, to be quite honest, I'm not picky about how you call your solution, your project. It's really up to you. By looking at this, I'm gonna call the project, I could call it test pizza, I could call it just pizza. I'm gonna call it test pizza, but again, the name of the project is not a big deal, okay? To be quite honest. So I'm gonna call this test pizza, and I'm gonna create. Okay, so let's read a little bit more here. Okay, create a class named pizza. Okay, so let's create a class named pizza. Okay, so where are we going to create this class? Well, we could do it two ways. We could create as a separate file, and that is addressing what you're asking, Teresa. So again, two ways. You can create a new file for that class, and I would suggest that we go that route. We keep new classes, we keep different classes on different files. Even if the class is very small, but from an organization standpoint, it's a good practice, okay? Now, is there anything technically wrong if you create the class inside this file, program.cs? Technically speaking, there's no problem. As long as you see you have program here, and then you could start the other class right here. You can say class pizza, test pizza, okay? But I'm gonna choose to go with a new file, just to keep things, in my opinion, a little bit more organized, a little bit better presentable, okay? So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna right click on test pizza here on the project, and I'm gonna say add. You can click class. I usually go to add new item and I explore the items there. I'm gonna go with new item, and I'm gonna find class there. So here's the class. I can name it right here, the file. Let's have a look at the exercise. So the exercise is asking to save this class as testpizza.cs. Actually save this class file as testpizza.cs. I'm gonna keep that name. So I'm gonna create here test pizza. What I'll be more picky about will be really about how you name your classes, how are you naming your methods, things like that, okay? But not so much about the project name and the file name like the one that we are creating right now. So test pizza, here we go. Great, so it created a class for us as well, right up front. So let's do this. So it's asking to create a class called pizza. So let's rename this class here and call it just pizza, just to keep in line with the exercise. There's no problem that the file name is called test pizza and the class is called pizza. No problem. They don't have to match, okay? That's just a file name, and this is the actual class name that you're going to be using in our application, okay? So let's see the details about pizza. I see a question here. So part two will be uploaded for the podcast. Uploaded tomorrow. Tomorrow will be live, part 2. Okay, so create a class name pizza. Data fields include a string for toppings, such as pepperoni, and an integer for diameter in inches, such as 12, and a double for price. Okay, so we have how many members? We have 3 members. See, it's saying create 3 data fields. So let's think about what we have done last class, what we have covered last class. So we are going to create 3 fields. Should those fields be public or private?
Are they going to be used in only in this class?
Fields should be private. Okay, data should be private. Data should be private, okay? So where we store the data should always, I'll make the blank statement, should always be private, okay? So we're gonna declare those 3 guys as private. So we're gonna say, let's see here, data fields, toppings. So let's say private. The first one is a string, so string. Oh, what did I do here? I just flipped. Okay, so how do I go back? That's a problem. Okay, I can do this. Great. Okay, so let's go back here. Private string. The name is toppings. All good here? All good? Anything that should change here? T capital should be capital. Lowercase, okay? So again, we are talking about fields, we are talking about data fields. They should be lowercase, okay? So toppings T should be like this. Great. Okay, so we have 2 more. So private, not private, but private. And then we have include string, integer for diameters. Okay, so we have an int, diameter. Okay, I'm horrible at typing, as you can see. And then we have inches, and double price. Okay, so private, double price. Okay, so we have covered all 3 data fields, correct? Made them private, so we protect the data. Lowercase, so we are using, okay, we are using camel case in here, okay? Now, let's keep going here. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, let's keep progressing here. Include properties to get and set values for each of these fields. This is new. This is this. Okay? So we're going to create properties. Now, let's think about this. We have 3 fields that we'll probably need the data from them outside of this class. Okay? But we cannot access them directly. So we're going to access them via properties, via gets and sets. Okay? Because with gets and sets, we control. Remember last class that we were talking about the days, in the video that we can control when Joyce was talking about days and I was questioning, how about we just make them all public? We could, but again, we want to control how information gets stored there, what is the information that is valid, and how it gets retrieved. So you want to control that very closely. And the way we do that is by using properties. Let's start with the first one. Let's start with a property that will read and write two toppings, okay? So, we're going to create something here called, we're going to make this public. Properties need to be public, so we're going to say public. At first, they look very much like a field, but you're going to see a few differences here. So we're going to say public string toppings then in the end we're going to have to specify, you're going to have to put the content inside curly braces. So you're going to say open braces there, close them, and then you're going to have to write a get and a set. The get method will read the value from the private fields, and the set will be able to store the value. So let's just take, by the way, as you can see here, toppings, because it is a property, we're going to be using Pascal casing, okay? So camel casing for the private fields, Pascal casing for the public properties, okay? So I'm going to say this, get, and then get is like a method, but written in a very short way, in a very concise way. And get, to make this one very simple, we're just going to return the value of toppings. So we're going to say return toppings. So now, this property is already valid, okay? It returns the value of toppings. But because so far we have only created the get, this property is what?
It's not stored.
Is read-only, yes. It is read-only because right now we only have a get. So we can only get information from this property here. Sorry, from this field here. We can only read. We cannot write anything to toppings because it doesn't have a set. So a get is to get the information out. A set is to store the information in. So far, with what we have, we can only get information. It's a read-only property. So we have read-only properties. You're going to hear this quite a lot. Create a read-only property. If you hear create a read-only property, the only accessor in get is called, this is failing, get is called an accessor. So there are two accessors, get and set, okay? So if the exercise, if the application is asking for you to write a read-only property, you're just going to write a get. But this is not the case. The exercise is asking us to write a get in a set, okay? So let's write the set here. We're going to have set. Now we're going to be storing out a value somewhere. So now we have the opportunity to say, whenever a value gets assigned to toppings, this is what should happen. And again, as we are just getting started with this, we're going to do it in a very simple way. We're just going to store the value back to the toppings, to the private toppings, okay? So we're going to say toppings, which is the private data field, receives what? Anyone knows? Value. And I'll explain what is value here. So value, so if we think about get as a little method, if we think about set as a little method as well, value is kind of a parameter from set. It's a hidden parameter. It's not explicit there, but it's implicit. It's implied there. So value is the value that gets set to these toppings. So when we do this, the value that was assigned to this property will get stored in this private field. Let me give you an example. Let me run an example here. So we have our class pizza. How about we declare an object of this class? So let's go to our program and let's say that we say something like this. My pizza equals to new what? New pizza. Just like this. What do we need? We need parentheses, okay? So we need to call the constructor. We're going to get to constructor there at some point today, but let's just keep going here. So I'm creating a new pizza. Let's say that now I'm going to say my pizza equals my pizza dot toppings. You see, we only see toppings here because the other data fields, they are private, okay? So you only see toppings. So my pizza dot toppings equals to, and let's say we initialize this with pepperoni. See if pepperoni is okay. No, it's 2 P's and 1 N. Okay. So how about we do this? So you see, even though toppings is just a property, but it's the access point of this data field from your pizza. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a breakpoint here. We all know how to use breakpoints now, so let's get used to using it a little bit more. Let's run this. So, as we know how breakpoints work, the code stops right there. And then, what I can do, I can keep pressing F11 or F10, so I can step in or I can step out. So, I never remember which one is which, one shortcuts, but let's see here. So, in step in. So, let's go step in, because then, as we step into that property, let's see how it behaves. So, let's go with F11 here. Your step in request the results automatic step over. What is that? Do you want to continue being fine? Well, I was not expecting that, but that's okay. It just went through. Okay, so let me do this. Let me put the breakpoint right here. Let's see if it will behave slightly in a different way. Okay, so it stopped here. I don't know why it didn't step in there. I don't have time right now to look into that, but I put a breakpoint here in the set. The set was called when we assigned the pepperoni to toppings. Now let's have a look at value. See, the value of value is pepperoni. Now, see, right now toppings is a private string that was never used before. So if I move the mouse over here, toppings, it shows as null. After we go through with this, toppings will become, we'll have the state will be pepperoni. So that's what we're doing. That's what a property is. See, I see a question there. Pascal casing for public or private? Okay, Pascal casing. So Pascal casing is for Pascal for properties, camel casing for fields. Pascal for properties, camel casing for fields, okay? For methods as well, Pascal casing for methods too, yes. Okay.
May I please ask you?
Yeah.
So basically, for us to use private, in our case string, right?
Yep.
We need to make it outside of any method. We need to declare it outside.
Yeah, because if you declare inside the method, what happens?
Only within the
Within the scope of the method. So we are declaring it in the scope of the entire class. Okay? No problem. So here's the thing. We may think, but again, we're going through all this trouble here just to have one more step between the front-end code and these toppings here? Yes, we are. But that's what data hiding means. We are hiding the data, we are hiding access to the data directly from other classes, okay? And we are putting this extra step, which, to be quite honest, we are making it very simple, yes, but we could make this more complicated. We could test the values of toppings. Oh, toppings can only be pepperoni, I don't know, extra cheese. We could test that, and we could say, hey, if it's not one of those, create an exception. So again, we can apply rules when we are setting. We can apply rules when we are getting as well. We can make this more robust. We don't want to do that right now, but we can. So whenever, for now, at this point in time, whenever you need to define a property, you're going to define like this. You're going to define a version. You're going to define a private field. Let me move those over here. You're going to define a private field and a public method. Private field, public method. Private field, public method. They should even match the name, with the difference that one is camel casing, one is pastel casing. I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other ones. So let's go here. I'm just going to copy and paste. And when you copy and paste, make sure that, again, very, very, very common problem with us writing properties is, for instance, not changing the type, or they're leaving, as you copy and paste, we leave the same privates. Okay, so again, pay attention to the little nitty-gritty details that we have to address here. So I'm going to say diameter. I'm going to return from the private. I'm going to set the private, and of course, the type is int. You can, there's a shortcut, and again, I'm not great at shortcuts. If you are, great for you. So I think it's a prop, tab. It creates an auto property. Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, it's not for us right now. We should not be using auto properties for now. We're going to get to know them, but it's not for now. So I'm going to say the same thing with price. Price here. And price is a double. Okay? Perfect. And we have it. Okay, so three fields and 3 properties. Okay? Let's see what else. I can share this with you as well, this code here. Let's see what else the exercise is asking. Okay, so include properties to get and set values for each of these fields. Create a class named test pizza that instantiates one pizza. Okay, so and demonstrate the use. Okay, so it's basically asking us to go back here to program and create, let's say, a test pizza. And then we're going to set each value. And you're going to say diameter. Let's use the example here. Let's say diameter in 12. And then we have test pizza dot price equals to 13.99. And then, if we want, we can just output them. We can just output to make sure that we have correct values there. So you can say console dot write line, and I can say pizza, and I can say test pizza dot toppings. Actually, let's do this way: pizza toppings. And I will output this, and of course this is string interpolation, so I have to put the dollar sign. So I'm gonna say pizza. I'm gonna say diameter. I'm gonna say pizza dot diameter and pizza and price. I can say price. And let's say that price, we're going to format this as currency. And I can just press Control F5, and I should be able to see. So I first set them up, and then I'm just outputting them. I'm just demonstrating that I can set the values of the properties, and I can get them back, okay? Okay, great. Questions? Yes? Why? Can we just use a constructor? You mean use the constructor to initialize the values? We can, and we're going to get there. Okay? So today, one of the topics is also constructors. So right now, we are just talking about properties. Okay? Okay, let me have a quick look here at the second one and see if we, okay, class fields, include properties contain, class name. Okay, exercise 2. So you now have ammunition, information, knowledge to carry on with exercise 2. So I'm going to give you some minutes to get through exercise 2, and then you get moving. Take your time, go through. I'll be walking around to see if you need help. Yes. What is that? The code of this? Okay, I will upload the codes right now to the best place is... yeah, I'm gonna put this code on Padlet, so you can copy it from there. So here, again, the format in Padlet will not look very good, but you can just copy and paste, okay? So you can have it better there. I'm going to do the same thing with the class pizza. Again, formatting is not great there, but you can just copy and paste.
So,
Yep.
basically this is just to hide the data, right? Okay.
Yes, properties just to hide. Just to hide, yes. To hide, actually, fields are supposed to hide, but properties are actually supposed to expose. So they expose however you want them to be exposed, and you do that via properties. So it's more about not really hiding, but giving access, creating a layer there that you can control and you can say, yes, I can only get through or get from if I pass through the property, okay? What the hell? As you get through this exercise 2, as you get done, post on Padlet saying that you are done, because then I know if majority is done, if not, I can control better our time, okay? Okay, I'm going to take a quick attendance here. Ahmed Ali. I think that he was the one that's left for the break, isn't it? Al Ajlan. Amin Patel. Brandon. Cao Huang. Clara. Dhruv Rakesh. Gurneet. Ila Song. Ishan. Jasmine. Jennifer. Joanna Lu. Jorge Hora. Joshua Timbal. Karina. Martin. Mary Christine. MD Hello. Mustafa. Nita. Nihal Kumar. Pawan Preet. Saima. Sagar Kumar. Shaminda. Shima. Siran. Syed. Tanvi. Teresa. Tamoy. Yep. Tony Lin. Yonga Jim. And Yusuf. If I did not call your name, Tanvi. Sorry, no problem.
I am a little confused
Yes.
about the terminology.
Okay, that's fine.
In this case, we are creating here a class.
An object.
As an object, right?
No, a class is pizza.
The class
Is pizza. Can you open pizza? Okay, right away, P should be capital. Okay? You get that? P should be capital because we are talking about, so names of classes should follow Pascal casing. Okay, that's the first thing.
And the same for the...
No, this is okay. This is okay. This is okay. Yeah, these are fine.
The same rule is for
Yes, the
methods
same
and for
property. Yes.
internal methods.
Internal properties and methods. Yes.
Properties are methods.
In methods as well. Okay.
In this case, we are okay.
So now you have to capitalize. Yes. Yeah.
We are creating
A new pizza. You're creating. Yep.
because here is create a class name. No, sorry. Okay, create a class name test pizza. Is this
We are creating an object here.
is object,
Is object. Yes.
no class. Create a class name test pizza. That instantiates one pizza.
Okay. You know what?
I understand.
Okay. Create a class name pizza. Because here he's talking about the property. Ignore a little bit what is called here class name. I mean, this should be create a class named display house plants, create a class named house plants. Yeah, this is actually the program name. So your house plant should be called house plant, okay, the class. And this, you can call this as your program. This is your program. I'm going to explain that a little bit because I think that the question is slightly confusing. Okay.
But it's more my English, right?
No. I think but I think that the question is a bit confusing as well. Okay. I need to explain something a little bit better. Okay.
Thank you.
Be there in a second. What's up?
So when you made test pizza thing, right? In
Yep.
the class, how did you get the class pizza inside? Like, did you type it?
Just type because they share the same namespace.
Yeah.
So they are visible to each other. I just type pizza.
Okay, right. I typed your.
Okay.
copy
Class
pasted-
pizza and pizza. These are class pizza should not be inside test pizza.
Okay.
Should not.
So I should just take that out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. You had some questions, so this is the time.
Yeah, it's fixed.
It's fixed? Okay, good. What's up? No problem.
That makes
Be there in a
a
second.
little bit confusing
Yep.
for me. I mean, I know I can do exactly. I need to do exactly what we did
Yep.
here. But one thing that makes me a little bit confused is that create a class named pizza and then create a class named test
Okay.
pizza.
I need to explain something a little bit better because the question is slightly confusing. What it really means is that this pizza here is this class name pizza. This is actually the program. So it's asking you to call the program pizza, and then can you go back here to the question?
Oh, okay. To the question.
See, data future, okay. So actually, pizza is the new class that you're going to create with those properties, and then it asks you to create. Yeah, the name of the project, the name of the name. This is asking you to rename the program class and call it test pizza. It's not very clear. I'll clarify that. But for this one, your class, that will be the equivalent of pizza, will be called house plants. This other class here is just for you to rename program and call program, set of program, call it display house plants. So you're going to have house plant, which will have the properties of a house plant, and then the application will be called, the program will be called display house plants.
So I have to change this.
Yes, yes. Actually, double click there. Double click, open it. You see the class name, program, class program?
Okay.
Down, yep. That is that name.
Which name?
Is this one here, the second one. Display house plants. Okay, I need to clarify that because the exercise is not very clear on that. Yes, you had a question?
So what the naming radius is
Yeah.
so what it is, the one that had the name, I used that, I just renamed it as the test one.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. You're doing fine. That's it.
Class, that's where you put all the,
Yep. The question, the exercise is slightly confusing. I didn't clarify that. So when I get to explain it, I'll clarify that. Okay?
Oh, they keep brackets? It's like a macro. It's like it's extremely simple.
Okay, if you need 5 minutes break, I mean, go for it. It's the right time.
I have a question on this one. So where can I find the extension object from this example here?
This is the object. You're instantiating an object of the type pizza. So here you are declaring a pizza and you are instantiating it.
Oh, okay. So because I'm confused about this one.
Yeah. So you are declaring and then you are instantiating. Creating a new instance is creating a new object of that type. Which type? Pizza. You're creating a new object called test pizza of the type pizza.
And one more question. So if the in here, if I did not put the static here, it means it's non-static.
It is, but to be quite honest, for this example, it would not make a difference.
Oh,
Okay?
okay. So actually, then I don't understand the static and non-static methods.
Okay. So static methods. Right now we don't have any static methods.
Yeah.
We don't. Well, aside from the main program, we have it static there, but we don't instantiate classes, object of program. Program is just to run the application. The only objective is to run the application. Now, let's go through some exercises so we can get to know better about static and non-static. What I would recommend is go to the slides that I showed, the PDF that I have shared with the class on week 1 and week 2,
Yeah.
where it talks about static, because there you can see a coding example of static and non-static.
Yeah, I made the notes about the one, but I did not get it very clear.
Well, I can tell you this. Go back to your code. Go back to your code there. Go back here to test pizza. See here, if this property had the keywords static,
Yeah.
you could only access toppings from the pizza class. So you have to type in pizza.toppings. But because it does not have static name, you're gonna access this from the objects. So mypizza.toppings. So static, you can only call from the class name. Non-static, you can only call from the object name. So one belongs to the object of that class, the other one belongs to the actual class itself. The example that I gave in the PDF shows that very clearly. It shows 2 examples of static and non-static and how to call them. One needs the class name, the other one needs the object name.
Okay. Because I'm confused, like, okay, I know the object name, but in the real example here, where's the object name? That's why I'm confused.
Where's the object name?
Yeah.
Go back to program. Where is it, the object name? Where is it? Where's the class name? Where is the object name?
This one?
Well, this is the class. But here, when we declare, this is the class name, pizza.
Yes.
And the object name is test pizza. It's like a variable, like you declare I as an integer. I is an integer, correct?
Yeah.
Test pizza is a pizza. Okay?
Thank you.
No problem.
In your instruction, you said create a class named test pizza, then instantiates one pizza object.
Actually,
in this case,
that what is actually telling you is to rename this class here and call it program instead of call it that name. So I should have explained that a little bit better.
is that what you've been telling everyone?
Yes, I'm repeating that to everyone. So I realize that I need to clarify, but we're going to address that in 3 minutes, okay? One. Yes.
If you would like, I could send you the book that I've been using for learning C# because I started by my own. I don't know, maybe some people could find it.
Yeah, that's okay. But this book, our book is quite good as well. But yes, you can. Okay.
Yes, because she sometimes gives such examples so that I don't understand the example. I can better code because I don't know, such comparison like with parties, dogs or something, I just cannot get it. It's not precise for me.
Okay. What's up? Yep.
Download Visual Studio on my laptop.
Did you follow the instructions?
Yeah. Not run.
What are the instructions?
It says all every time almost done just gets away and download.
Yeah. So you downloaded it and yeah.
What can I possibly do now?
So it just keeps like this? Did you try to reboot it? Did you try many times already? I would say maybe try Visual Studio 2017, see if there is 2017
I
there.
tried both versions. 2017 and 2019.
You don't get any errors, anything? There's no messages there? Just that. And it does create shortcuts and nothing? To be quite honest, I'm not sure. I mean, you have Vista, is that Windows Vista?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's not compatible with, I'm not sure. I mean, what I will tell you is that maybe just use the lab computers, but
Just if I have to create those assignments.
yeah, again, maybe try VS Code. VS Code is not the same thing, it's close enough. Again, the name is VS Code. It's open source, it's free. Again, it's very different from Visual Studio, but that's what I can recommend to you. But yeah, I mean, you can also try support at the college. Okay, so VS Code, yep, that's the one there. See VS Code. Give it a try there, but again, it's very different the experience from Visual Studio. I would recommend maybe, I don't know if they give this type of support, maybe call the IT support at the college. Maybe they have something to say, but make sure that you're using that Vista, isn't it? Yeah, make sure that you use that because it may, actually Google that. Visual Studio 2019 is compatible with Windows of Vista. Maybe it's not. Okay, let's have a look here. Let's have a look here. I just want to clarify. Okay. I'll address the questions on Padlet in a second. Let me start with the exercise 1, because there's one thing that I didn't clarify enough, and it generated confusion, which I understand. Actually, I get confused every time that I look at them. So let me adjust a little bit. Exercise 1. It says, create a class named pizza. It does talk about the project itself, because it's kind of assuming that you start from a blank editor, a text file, a blank text file, I don't like to start just with that. I like to start with Visual Studio, but that's fine. What I should have done a little bit differently is that, yes, we have to create a class pizza, and we did. So here's the class pizza. But now, in the second part, it says, create a class named test pizza that instantiates one pizza object. That test pizza, to be quite honest, it should be our program class, because our program class is the class that will be instantiating the pizza. Actually, let's see here. Instantiate one pizza, yeah. So, create a class named test pizza. Okay, so we don't have this test pizza, so let's call it, we have program. So let's call program our test pizza. So this is fine. We could have done that, okay? So the second one, again, any questions? Okay. The second one, because of that, generated a little bit of confusion too. So I'm not gonna go line by line with exercise 2. I'm just gonna clarify that name in there that is a bit confusing. I'm gonna launch Visual Studio again here. I'm going to create a new project. Again, name it however you want. I'm just going to pick this name here and name it like this. In my assignments, in my tests, I'll make sure that things are not blurry or not confusing like this. Because again, those were exercises that I took straight from the book, okay? So I'll make sure that this is not ambiguous. So I'm going to say display house plants. Okay, so I'm going to call this display house plants. Display house plants. Okay, I'm going to create that. And then I'm going to follow here. Okay, so create a class named house plant. It has 3 fields. I'm just going to create the class now. So I'm going to go house plants. Right-click the project, click on Add, New Item, Class. I'm going to call this House Plant. I'm going to click on Add. Then I'll create all those fields, name, price, and a value indicating the plant has been fed in the last month. For example, true. This last property, this last field should be what? What type? A Boolean, okay? So again, that's fine. So now include properties that contain get and set. So again, you're going to have 3 fields and 3 properties, just to read and write from them. The same as we did in the exercise 1. Then create, here's the confusing part. Create a class named display house plants that instantiates 3 house plants and demonstrate each property. So this class here, here's what I can do. Display house plants. I can just rename our program with display house plants. And that is the class that will, in the main, create 3 objects of the plant type, instantiate them, set its values, and then output to the console. Very similar to what we have done with the first example. But this time around, we have 3 objects instead of just 1. I'm going to check the questions here on Padlet. Let's see here. Okay, I have done great. Would you do the exercise after explaining constructors? Okay, so we're going to get to exercise 4 in a bit. Done, great. Questions? This is the time. I'll be providing this code by the end of the week, okay? After all sections have gone through this, I provide the code for the 4 exercises, okay? Yes?
So we have here display house plant, right?
Yes.
House plants. So
it was before, it was the same. It was like both names were the same, right?
Before what? Before I did this?
Before you did this, yeah.
It was program. It was called program. See, it was called program before.
Okay.
This is the initial program class that all applications, they require that. I just renamed that because, again, the exercise is assuming that you are pretty much starting this from a blank text editor, and we are starting from within a solution in Visual Studio, okay? Let me have a look at 3 and see if there's any confusion. I'm just going to read 3 and clarify things before you get going. Create a class named circle with fields called radius, area, and diameter. Include a constructor. Okay, great. So 3, we need a constructor. Because we need a constructor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to exercise 1, and I will demonstrate the use of constructors, okay? So let me open that. So we have pizza here. Look at this. Pizza, open and close parentheses there. This is a constructor. But this is also called the default constructor. A constructor is a kind of a special method. Looks very much like a method. Actually, let me step back. So in terms of members, so far, we have seen 3 of them. Class members. Can we name them? Different types? Variables, which are, how are we calling this now? We're going to call it fields. So we have fields. What else? Properties. What else? Methods. Okay? Now we're going to add one more type of member to our classes, which are constructors. Okay? They look very, very similar to methods with one difference. Who can tell me what is the difference? What is that?
They have same name as of class.
Yes. There is one. There is another one. Default, they are empty. I would not necessarily say that. I mean, you have the default, but the only point of creating a constructor manually is to put something inside. So I would not list that. But yes, it has the same name as the class. That's one. But there is another detail. Let me write it. I'm going to write the first one. I'm going to write, so for pizza, the idea of a constructor is that I may want to load some information as soon as I create the object. I want to load some information inside this object using the constructor, okay? So again, in our pizza right now, we don't have a constructor defined, correct? We didn't write a constructor. We have 3 fields and 3 properties. But any class that you come to create, define, it has by default one constructor, which is this one. It's a constructor that has no parameters. It has no parameters, okay? So it's a parameterless constructor. It's the default one, and it's given to you as you define a new class. You don't need to define it. It's given to you. However, you may want to define your own constructors. Maybe you want to do something else with your constructor. You may want to initialize values, and someone asked me about that. You mentioned about initializing values from constructor, correct? So let's do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to enhance pizza, not because of that, not that the exercise is asking for that. It's just that I want to demonstrate constructors with the scope of our pizza example, okay? So let's go here to our test pizza, and at the very bottom, by the way, general rule of thumb, keep private fields and public properties at the very top of your class. And then after they are defined, you define your methods, you define your constructors, okay? Let's define a constructor here. So as I said, constructor, it has to have, as you said, has to have the same name as the class. So let's declare that. So let's say pizza. And then we define something here. This is a constructor without any body. It doesn't have any body. Okay? We didn't implement anything there. It's an empty one. Okay? But we have an error already. Let's have a look at this error here. See? Pizza.pizza is inaccessible due to its protection level. Who can decipher that error? Why it should be public? Why? Okay, so let's clarify that. If this was a method, what is the default accessor? What is the default, not accessor, the default, I lost the word, it's not type, it's access modifier. The access modifier, what is the default access modifier of a method? Again, when you think about default modifiers, it's always, hear this out, it's always the most restricted one. Always the most secured one. So when you're talking about members, which one of the accessors is the most restricted one? Private. Private. So right now this constructor is set to private. But what is the problem? This constructor becomes only available where?
Within this class.
Inside the class. But a constructor needs to be, in general rule, needs to be available outside. Because we're using it right here. Look, we are using outside. So, to use the constructor, it has to be defined as public, outside the class. So, let's do this. Okay, great. Now, by doing that, we haven't changed much. We are just defining our own default constructor. Now I can say, okay, every time you create a pizza, the topping should be set to cheese. And the diameter, the default diameter, let's say, should be 12 inches. And then I can do something about price as well. I can say that the default pricing is, I don't know, 19 bucks. So what I'm doing here is that as soon as I create, because I have defined my own constructor, as soon as I create this pizza, the topping becomes cheese, the diameter becomes by default 12, and the price becomes by default 19. Let's have a look at this. I'm going to put a breakpoint here. It stopped there. Now, let's have a look at the properties of the pizza. Remember, it stopped here, so I have not set the toppings here, nor the diameter, nor the price, but let's all look at test pizza. Let's look at the properties, you see? 12 for diameter, 19 for the price, and toppings is already set to cheese. So as soon as we created the pizza, the values of our properties were already set by default, okay? So what we have done here is that, yes, Visual Studio, not Visual, sorry, .NET, it gives us a default constructor from start, but we can redefine it. So we just redefined our own constructor here. So we said, no, I don't want your default constructor, I want to define my own. And that's what we did. We defined our own constructor. Now, look at that header. What is the difference between, just by looking at it, a method and a constructor? You said one thing, that the constructor has to have the same name as the class. That's good, that's okay. What else? Static? Return type. Let's have a look at the return type. What is the return type of that?
Nothing. It doesn't return anything.
It does not return. So if you see what what seems to be a method, but has no return type, not even void, it means that this is a constructor. And it has the same name as the class. So same name as class, no return type. This means that it's a constructor. Okay? Now, how about we make this, how about we create a second constructor? Yes, we can have pizza without parameters, but what if we want to let whoever is using our pizza object to define by default what are their defaults? Maybe they want, as soon as create the new pizza, maybe they want to say, this is the topping, this is the price, and this is the diameter. So we could create our own, a second constructor here. And I'm just going to use this as a starting point. And actually, let's start here. So I'm going to have a second one called pizza. But this one here, we're going to have 3 parameters. We're going to say, let's say, toppings. Sorry. String toppings. I'm going to just break in different lines to make it a little bit better readable, okay? More readable. I'm going to say the second one as diameter. And diameter is int diameter. And I'm going to say double price. And then I'm going to define here the body. Okay, so first of all, talk to me about the parameters that I have defined. What did I get wrong there? The name it should be lowercase, okay? So let's fix that. So let's have toppings and diameter here, and then price here, okay? So let's fix that. Great. Now we're going to do something, actually, let's repeat this. Let's say that now toppings, which is the capital one, and by capital I mean it's the property. So here when I write toppings, I'm referring to this guy here. I'm going to set toppings to toppings here. So I'm setting the property toppings of the object to whatever was sent from the constructor. So toppings go to toppings, diameter goes to diameter, and then price goes to price. Okay, so we are sending the parameters that are coming in to the properties that are available in our object, in our class, okay? Something that happens quite a lot, I see that all the time, is students flipping this. Flipping and making this the opposite. It means that something didn't click in their heads. So I want to make sure that this is clicking in your heads. Whatever we are sending in pizza, and by the way, let's then enhance the program here a little bit. Let's create, let's create a new pizza here. Let's just go for a new one. I'm just going to write down here. I'm going to write down test pizza 2. And now I'm going to use the second constructor. I'm going to say, see, now, can you see here, 1 of 2? So you can see that there are 2 constructors, one with 3 parameters, another one with no parameters. I'm just using the key down and key up of the keyboard, okay? So I'm going to use the second one. I'm going to say that the topping will be not a pizza guy. So Come on, one topping here. Olives. Pen, pineapple, apple pie? Oh, I thought it was pen, pineapple, apple pie. Who knows pen, pineapple, apple pie? Nobody? You know, nobody knows that?
I know.
Okay, you don't have kids. Yeah, I get it.
Yes, that's true.
I got a pen, I got an apple. Pineapple pen. No? Nobody? Come on. Okay, so olives. I don't even know if that's the right spelling. What else we have? Oh, yes, diameter. So let's say 20 inches. And then price, this will be a very expensive apple pie, pineapple, apple pie. Okay, now look at this. In one single line, we are not only declaring, we are creating, but we are already setting the values of each property. Okay, so if I put a breakpoint here, and let's use a console. Let's output this as well. And I'm gonna say test pizza 2, test pizza 2, and test pizza 2. And when we run this, we should be able to see, control F5, let's see. You see, olives, diameter, and price. We are initializing all the properties from the constructor call directly. Now, guess what are we doing here? Guess what these are doing? What is this an example of? Of overloading. So we are doing here constructor overloading. Not method overloading, but constructor overloading. We're creating a second constructor with different parameters. Okay? So that's called constructor overloading. Okay. Okay, so I hope this is becoming clear. Yes. Yep. In the class, okay? Yes. Okay, so let me get to that. It's a good point because then I'll address this part here. Okay? So let's have a look here. Our second constructor is all good. It's working fine. But as in coding, there are different ways that we can do the same thing, okay? So I'm using the properties to set them via whatever is being sent from the pizza. So I'm setting to toppings here, the property toppings, the parameter diameter, to the diameter property, the price parameter, to the price property. But, you know what? If I wanted, I could access those guys directly. I could, because I'm inside the pizza class, I can actually refer here to the private toppings, the private diameter, and the private price. So I could say something like this. I could say toppings, lowercase, diameter, lowercase, price, lowercase. But then, what is the problem?
Same string is equal to the same string. It's just.
See, these are all the ones coming from the parameter. So how can we differentiate them? We can change the name of the parameter, that's fine. So I can say my toppings. We can change the names. That's fine. What if I don't want to change the names?
Using this properties.
Use properties. What if I don't want to use properties?
Just leave it like that.
And leave it like that. Hope for the best. Okay. What will happen if I leave like that? What will happen then? We are assigning toppings to toppings. I mean, we're not doing anything. Okay? But there is a third way. There's a third way, which is using this. And what is this? Okay? Don't get confused there. Don't get confused. There will be a lot of this and some of that. Anyway. So what we can do is, we can use the keyword this. The keyword this, it's a reference to the current object inside the class. So if I say this dot toppings, that sorts things out, because this is the instance of this class here. That at this moment, it's called pizza2. At this moment here, it's called test pizza. So this, again, it's a reference to the current object present in that class, that has been created. So I can say this dot toppings, this dot diameter, this dot price. Actually, I can even say this dot toppings. You don't have to, and that's why, you see Visual Studio, I don't know if you can notice this, but here it's a little bit light, here it's a little bit darker, because here it's optional. You don't have to put the this there, but here you have to, because otherwise it becomes ambiguous. The stoppings, actually, it's not ambiguous. The stoppings without this is this one here, is the one from the parameter, okay? So this, the keyword this, will sort it out. So, but we could use this here as well, and this here, and this here. However, you don't have to, because it's clear to the compiler who topping is with capital T. There's no confusion there, okay? Yes?
If you don't put that like this, then it cannot access out of the constructor?
Correct. It cannot, because there's already something in this context that is called toppings. So when you refer to toppings here, first it will look, is there anything called toppings in my context? Oh yes, there is. So it becomes this one. It doesn't reach the other one.
But when you do this, toppings, you will reach other one.
Yes, because this is referring to the object present in this class at this moment in time. So it's referring to the outside private fields. Okay? Yes. I cannot hear.
Instead of we putting capital letters for toppings, we're gonna put this or
Which one, you're asking which one you should do?
yeah, like the first example, we put toppings with capital letters.
Like that.
Toppings small letter. Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of doing that, we're gonna put this and all of them small letters.
Okay. So my recommendation is use the property. You call it like the capital ones. Because then, if you have rules that are being applied in those properties, your constructors will follow the same rules that you're applying. So, again, even if this is not very clear to you, that's fine. Just take this. And I'm not talking about, not about this. I'm just talking about this, what I'm going to say next. Use the capital ones, okay? Use those ones. If you are running from the constructor, use the capital ones as a best practice, okay? Now, it would work if you use it in this format, just toppings. It will work either way. But as a general rule, I would recommend that you set the properties, not the private fields, okay? As a recommendation. If you do one or the other, unless the statement of the question or the exercise is asking you explicitly for that, otherwise, it's fine either way. But again, just be mindful about this. Okay. Confusing, who's lost? Lost. Okay. Give me something for me to grasp to. Because, again, just lost, I have to restart from scratch. Ask a question. Lost with a question. Actually, I should rephrase. Who's lost and have a question? Okay.
So, I'm just lost on the last part, on the method. So.
On the methods, you mean the constructor?
Yeah. So, I don't know. So we put on the first one the constructor, right?
The first one, this one.
Yeah. So we have done this.
Yep.
Then why we did like the.
Because we have both options. You can do like that, or you can do like this. So you can, again, in coding, there are different ways. My point is that I'm trying to explain this keyword. There might be scenarios that you have to use this keyword to avoid ambiguity. Or like if you are going this direction here, you would have to use this, otherwise your code will not behave the way you expect it. Okay? Yes?
Sir, why does this still work even if the property has a different casing from the field initially?
Here and there, why both work?
Like toppings with capital T?
Yep, and toppings with lowercase.
Right, so lowercase at the beginning, that was the field that you said, right? And then...
Let me try to sort it out. I think that this will make more sense. Let's just focus on toppings, okay? Just focus on toppings. Can we stick to that? Now, and I'm gonna just eliminate this here, and I'll go exactly how it was before. So when you say toppings equals to cheese, what happens behind the scenes? What is happening? Let's have a look at toppings here. So what is happening in toppings when you set the value to cheese? What is happening here? Set. So the lowercase one becomes cheese. Let's say cheese, okay? So who's this guy here? Who's this? Show me here in this code. Who is this guy? The private up there, isn't it? Okay, so even if you use the uppercase one doesn't store its value inside of itself. It doesn't have, it's almost like, I have to find a metaphor for that, but it doesn't have a place to store its value. Its value is actually being stored in the private one. It's like this is just a filter. This is just a filter before you get to, I'm trying to come up with a metaphor here on the fly and I cannot. But this public property, it has no storage. It has no true storage. It stores its value inside the private string. So this guy here, even if you set to cheese, but the cheese string is not being stored inside of it, because it does exist actually. This one exists, and here it is. So toppings, capital T, is just a layer, is just, I would call it a filter, a layer. I'll find a better metaphor. But it doesn't really store anything on its own. In the end, it stores back into private fields. Okay, so we agree with toppings, capital T. Now, when you say toppings, lowercase t, we are just, it's not the same thing, but we are just accessing the private fields directly, and we are bypassing the toppings property. We are just going straight to the source instead of having the property in the middle. We are just bypassing the property and going straight to the storage area. Okay? The other people that were confused, again, are you able to articulate a question? I still remember who raised hands, and again, you had a question. It's clear? Okay. So let me see here. With this, we have enough to do exercise 3 and exercise 4. Exercise 4 has a static field. Again, that's okay. It's just a little bit more complicated, but that's fine. Things will just become just more complicated from here. Let's get going with exercise 3 and 4, and I'll be walking around. Keep going there. If by any chance all those exercises, if you have done all of them, you may want to jump to the end of the chapter in the book. There are plenty of exercises there, more complicated ones that will challenge you. So, how are you doing? How about the exercise? Did you have the chance to go a little bit through that C# basics?
Yeah.
You're going through it? Yeah. Is it helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All good? Yeah.
What do we have to do right now?
3 and 4 exercise.
So this project is the exercise we should set to build
Three objects, right?
Yep.
It says
3 house plans.
Yeah. So you declare 1, initialize.
Okay, like
Like this, yeah. So you do that 3 times.
3 times,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
For the exercise 2, like I'm trying to make here house, but it's always coming house plants, display house plants.
Okay. So let's go here to your house plants. Double click that. So house plants is how you call it. By the way, make it lowercase here, the L.
House plants?
Yeah. So that's house plants. That's your class.
Yeah, but I have to make here one new house plant, right? Like this one, P is equal
Yeah,
to-
but Yeah, go back there. Yeah, so you declare. Okay, so delete it. Go space, give it a space, and then start typing the house plant. So how? Okay.
It's not coming.
Oh, but you are creating. Okay, one second. Let me see here. Those house plants. Okay. I think that you have messed things up here. So house plants. Oh, it's namespace. You see, for some reason, that namespace you have changed something there.
Okay.
See, you have. Okay, it has to be the same namespace. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I have a question.
Yep.
What does mean 3 non-static class card fields?
Okay, you said all 3 non-static. When it say non-static means that it's just a regular fields. Like fields that we have created, they are all non-static. They don't have the keyword static, so they are called non-static. This is just because the exercise asks you to create a static one, so it's making a difference between the static one and the non-static one. Because there is a static one, see here? Include a constant field, a constant static field. So you're gonna create one of the fields will be static, and the other ones will be dynamic or non-static. So again, when you think about non-static, it's just a regular field that we have done on exercise 1 and 2. Okay?
I see. So 3 non-static fields means those 3, right?
Yes, that's exactly. Those are the regular fields. Non-static means that the keyword static is not there. Okay?
So when we have like this kind of thing,
Mhm.
this will be picked over this because what are the input we put in, or the input that we're requesting is type of string. That's why it goes into this and then does this or this, right?
Okay, can you formulate again your question?
Okay, sure. So when we like run the program from the main,
Yep.
right,
Yes.
we come into here
Yep.
as a reference. When we request stuff, let's say of type string, and then because this is type string, it goes into this to either get or set
Yes.
the string value.
Get if it's reading, if it's reading,
Right,
if it's reading. Set if we are assigning a value. If we are assigning a value to the property, we are setting.
Right.
If we are reading from it, like we're gonna read to display, we are getting it.
And reading of this
Reading
type,
is
right?
get.
Of this type, the string.
It doesn't matter the type. Why?
So how does it like know whether to return this or this? So if it doesn't know the type.
Because it knows the name. It's based on the name. Planting price and planting name.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? We are calling that type. We call that name. Yeah.
This thing called
It's a property.
property.
Property. This is a property. Property has a get and a set.
Property as okay. We'll take
Okay? Yep.
So I have a little bit confusion with
Yep.
the. So when I created, like the first thing, I named it circle.
That's okay.
So I have to create another class circle.
So let's go to the exercise there. So create a class named circle with fields. Yes. So you're gonna create a class called circle. That's fine. And then at the very end here, they may say create a class test circle. So the start circle, whose main? So main. Oh. So it's talking about the program. So just rename the class program to test circles. You can just go back and instead of program, make it test circle because it has a main, and we just have one main per application. Okay, so that's it.
Circle, and I will create a class with
A file for the circle .cs and a class inside called circle. Okay?
Thanks.
No problem. One quick second. Yeah, sure. I can sit there. That's fine.
Constructor set the radius to 1, so
Yep.
where can I type this one?
That sets the radius. Constructor, so you create a constructor there in their class that has a parameter called radius. So you're gonna set the radius coming in to your radius here.
From here, right?
Oh, this is default go back there. Go
Yeah,
back
I
there. Yeah. Include a constructor that sets the radius to 1. Yeah, so go back to the code. So you can, here, you can say radius equals to 1.
And that's it? Oh.
The default. So,
Okay.
okay? But again, remember that you have to put the public, no, okay, so public circle, it's inside the class. You're putting it outside. See, the class is inside of here, okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem. Yes.
Is this what you expect to get?
The output?
Yeah.
In terms of outputs, I mean,
It's just the
it's okay in terms of.
value and what I said.
Oh, that's for the assignment. Is that assignment?
No.
Sorry, that's the exercise, is it?
Exercise 4.
Yeah, exercise 4. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Go back to your class there, though. Is it asking for auto properties or regular properties? Because you are doing auto properties here, correct?
Yeah.
Only do auto properties like that if the exercise is asking for auto properties. If not, do regular properties. We didn't touch on auto properties yet, okay? And again, auto properties is good, but it's good once you had a chance to practice a lot regular properties.
It makes some errors. Easily.
Yeah, yeah.
When I say get, it doesn't work, or if I change a little bit for the set, get doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I'll explain about auto properties. Do regular ones that you have to define private fields, and you read from them and you set to them, okay? Okay, everybody, that's it. Next class, I'll be providing the solution for those exercises, and we're gonna move forward with UML, okay? And again, practice those exercises. Take some time to apply them. Come back to me with more questions. Again, we have plenty of time to do exercises, so let's keep this going, okay? Have a good one. I'll see you next class.